It was a rainy evening in the small town of Millfield, known for its old, abandoned mill on the outskirts. Locals always whispered about the mill, claiming it was haunted by the spirit of a worker who had died in a tragic accident decades ago. One night, a young woman named Claire decided to explore the mill with her friend Mark, hoping to capture evidence of the paranormal. Armed with only flashlights and a handheld camera, they entered the creaking building, its wooden beams groaning under the weight of years of neglect. The air was thick with dust, and the faint scent of decay lingered. As they moved deeper into the mill, Claire noticed shadows moving just beyond the reach of their flashlight beams. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but the shadows seemed deliberate, almost watching them, carrying with it a whisper so faint they could barely hear it. It was a stormy autumn evening in the quiet town of Millfield, a place that seemed forgotten by time. The streets were slick with rain, reflecting the dim glow of the streetlights, and the wind howled through the bare trees like distant voices warning of danger. On the outskirts of town stood the old Millfield Mill, abandoned for over 50 years. Locals said it was cursed, haunted by the restless spirit of a worker who had died in a mysterious accident during the mill's peak operation. Many had dared to enter, but most fled screaming or never returned. Claire, a young woman with a fascination for the paranormal, had always been drawn to stories of haunted places. This night, she convinced her friend Mark to join her in exploring the infamous mill. They carried flashlights, a handheld camera, and a recorder, hoping to capture proof of the supernatural. As they approached the mill, the building loomed like a dark monument, its silhouette jagged against the stormy sky. Rain pelted the broken windows, and the wind made the broken doors creak like tortured spirits moaning. Stepping inside, the smell of mold and decay hit them immediately. Dust floated in the air, swirling around their beams of light. The wooden floorboards groaned under their weight, each step echoing through the empty halls. As they moved deeper, shadows seemed to shift and linger in the corners, just beyond the reach of the flashlights. Claire's heart raced. Every instinct told her to leave, but her curiosity pushed her. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the upper floor. Mark froze. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Claire nodded, gripping her flashlight tighter. Slowly, they climbed the staircase, each step creaking ominously. When they reached the top, the air grew colder, and a faint, ghostly figure appeared at the end of the hallway. It flickered in and out, as if struggling to remain visible. Claire felt a chill run down her spine as she heard a barely audible whisper. Leave while you still can. Every instinct screamed danger, yet they moved forward, unaware that the spirit of the mill was not only watching, but waiting. Claire and Mark cautiously followed the hallway, their flashlights trembling in their hands. The instant she touched it, a sharp, icy wind swept through the room, knocking the camera from Mark's hands. The camera clattered across the floor, but the recording was still running. On the screen, a shadow moved unnaturally, stretching and contorting in ways that defied logic. Claire tried to step back, but the hallway behind them had disappeared. In its place was a solid wall, ancient bricks glowing faintly in a sickly green hue. Panic surged through both of them. "We need to get out," Mark stammered. But the room seemed to stretch endlessly, walls bending like they were alive. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated from beneath the floorboards. The sound was deep, guttural, almost inhuman. The wooden floor beneath them trembled, as if the building itself was reacting to their presence. Claire's flashlight flickered and went out for a moment, plunging them into near darkness. When the light returned, the ghostly figure had moved closer, its form clearer now. It was as though the mill itself was alive, feeding off their fear, keeping them trapped in its haunted heart. And in the distance, a faint whisper echoed repeatedly, "You shouldn't have come." Claire's heart pounded as she stumbled through the shifting corridors, Mark close behind. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting, making it impossible to gauge distance or direction. Every turn led to another dead end or a hallway that seemed to spiral into darkness. Shadows moved at the edge of their vision, sometimes darting just out of reach, other times looming impossibly tall. They reached a room filled with broken furniture and shattered glass. The floorboards groaned under their weight, and the temperature dropped sharply. Claire could see her breath in the air, fogging in front of her face. From somewhere above, a rhythmic tapping began, soft at first, then growing louder, echoing like footsteps in a storm. Mark's flashlight caught a glimpse of a figure perched on the rafters, hunched and still. When he tried to focus on it, it vanished, leaving only the echo of its sinister laughter. Desperation set in. Claire grabbed a rusted door handle, but the door wouldn't budge. The walls around them began to pulsate, the greenish symbols from earlier glowing brighter, almost hypnotic. A whispering filled the room, soft at first, but quickly forming words they could understand. Stay. Forever. The air grew thick, making it hard to breathe. The shadows converged, moving with intent, surrounding them in a vortex of darkness. Mark tried to pull Claire backward, but the floor seemed to stretch and warp, threatening to swallow them whole. In that moment, a cold hand, fleshless and icy, clutched Claire's shoulder. She screamed, spinning around, but no one was there. The shadows writhed like living creatures, and the whispering grew into anguished cries, repeating their names over and over. Panic became terror. They realized this place wasn't just haunted, it was alive. Suddenly, the sound of water dripping echoed through the mill, slow and deliberate. It was the only thing grounding them in reality, but even that seemed to taunt them, dragging them deeper into the impossible labyrinth of darkness. Just as Claire felt herself about to be consumed by the shadows, a sudden beam of light cut through the darkness. A flashlight from the entrance, wielded by the local caretaker who had been alerted by neighbors. The shadows hissed and recoiled, letting out a chilling, collective wail before retreating into the walls. The pulsing corridors seemed to collapse inward, leaving only the decrepit, silent mill. Claire and Mark stumbled outside, gasping for air, the cold night embracing them like a fragile shield. Behind them, the mill stood still, its windows dark, as if nothing had moved inside for years. But the feeling of being watched lingered, a reminder that whatever had haunted the mill was still there, patient and waiting. The local caretaker spoke softly. Not many leave this place with both their minds and hearts intact. You were lucky. Claire shivered, her hands trembling. They never spoke of the mill again, but sometimes, late at night, Claire could swear she heard the whispers and the soft echo of tapping footsteps, calling her back to the shadows that had nearly claimed her. From that day, both Claire and Mark carried a silent understanding. Some places are better left alone. Some stories, no matter how tempting, are not meant to be told, because the price of curiosity might just be eternity trapped in a living nightmare.